1, 0, all engine running.
Nobody talks about the 48 minutes. Everyone talks about the footprints, the flags, the grainy footage of Armstrong floating down that ladder. We replay it, we celebrate it, we put it in documentaries with swelling orchestral music and call it the greatest achievement in human history. And maybe it is. But there is a moment nobody shows you, a moment that happened on that same mission at the same time that I think is the truest picture of what space actually is. Michael Collins was alone behind the moon. No radio, no signal, no voice from Earth. The rock itself, that massive dead body of stone, physically blocked every frequency known to humanity. For 48 minutes per orbit, Michael Collins did not exist in any way that the rest of us could measure. He floated in a capsule the size of a walk-in closet, surrounded by a blackness that stretched for billions of light years in every direction, and there was not a single thing any human being on Earth could do for him. Not one thing. If his engine had failed in that silence, no one would have heard it. He would have kept orbiting, quietly, endlessly, until the oxygen ran out and even that small sound disappeared. That is space. Not the launch, not the applause. That moment. That silence. So when Artemis 2 lifted off and the crowds cheered and the headlines screamed triumph, I felt something the cameras did not capture. Because we just sent 4 living, breathing human beings back into that same darkness. And I think we owe it to them and to ourselves to actually understand what we sent them into. Let me start somewhere unexpected. Let me start with dust. The moon looks smooth from here, peaceful almost. But the surface is covered in something called lunar regolith, and it is one of the most quietly dangerous substances in the known universe. Because there is no wind on the moon, there is nothing to grind rock particles into soft, rounded grains over millions of years. Every fragment stays sharp, microscopically, brutally sharp, like shattered glass that never had the chance to become sand. During Apollo, this dust worked its way into everything. Suit seams, helmet visors, equipment joints. It scratched and clung and embedded itself into surfaces that were engineered by the best minds on Earth to resist it. And here is the part that should genuinely disturb you. If an astronaut had inhaled it, it would not have killed them on the moon. It would have waited, travelled deep into lung tissue and just settled there, cutting slowly, silently. Weeks after splashdown, back home, surrounded by family, the damage would already be done. No surgery removes it. No treatment reverses it. The moon would have followed them home, inside their lungs, and finished the job quietly. The dust alone is a slow death sentence with a delayed trigger. And nobody warns you about the dust. But let us keep going, because it gets stranger and more terrifying the deeper you look. Between Earth and the Moon, micrometeorites travel at 70,000 kilometers per hour, Invisible fragments of rock and ice, moving faster than any bullet ever fired, threading through the same space those astronauts crossed. The wall of the Apollo lunar module, the only physical barrier between human beings and instant annihilation, was a few millimeters of metal. That is it. A few millimeters, thinner than your finger. And if something punched through it at that speed, the pressure inside would not slowly drain away. It would vanish, instantly and completely. And what happens to a human body in total vacuum? Most people have never had to think about this. The water in your tissues begins to vaporize, not from heat, from the absence of pressure. Your own body betrays you at the molecular level. You do not explode, you do not freeze instantly. You simply come apart, quietly, from the inside. There is no alarm that summons help, no rescue team on standby, just the void, doing what it has always done, indifferently and completely. Here is something that very few people know. The Apollo guidance computer, the machine that helped land humans on the moon, had less processing power than a modern greeting card. A greeting card that plays music when you open it. That is what they trusted with their lives out there. And it worked, which somehow makes the whole thing feel even more terrifying, not less. Now, put yourself on the surface. You step out into lunar sunlight and you are standing in 120 degrees Celsius. Brutal, crushing heat with no atmosphere to soften it or spread it around. You take 3 steps to your left into the shadow of a crater wall. Just 3 steps, and the temperature crashes to minus 130 in the span of a single breath. No wind bridges the gap, no air cushion softens the swing. Shadow and sunlight can exist within arm's reach of each other on the moon. One side of your body baking, the other side freezing at the same time. The environment is not attacking you, it is simply indifferent to whether you survive. And somehow, that is worse than if it were trying. And then the radiation. To even reach the moon, you must pass through the Van Allen belts, rings of charged particles trapped by Earth's magnetic field. And then you leave that field behind entirely. Beyond it, our own sun becomes a loaded weapon pointed directly at you. A solar flare erupting at the wrong moment can shower the space between Earth and Moon with radiation that no suit currently in existence can fully stop. There is no bunker, no warning fast enough. You are simply exposed, hoping the sun stays quiet. And the sun does not make promises. Now consider this. If a major solar event had struck during an Apollo mission, at the wrong moment, the crew would have received a fatal radiation dose before anyone on Earth could even calculate the danger. They would have felt nothing unusual at first. They would have continued their checklists, answered radio calls, and only hours later, the damage already irreversible, would the sickness have begun. They would have died doing their jobs, not knowing the moment it was decided. The Artemis II crew crossed all of it. The radiation belts, the silence, the void. They lost all contact with Earth as they swung behind the moon and stared out their windows at something that must have landed like a quiet shock. The Apollo footprints, still there, perfectly preserved, sharp-edged and exact, pressed into the dust as clearly as the day they were made decades ago. No erosion, no decay. Those prints will outlast every city on Earth. Every building, every archive, every trace of our civilization will crumble and vanish long before those footprints fade. They are more permanent than we are. And they were made by men who went out there with computers less powerful than the device in your pocket. That image, those frozen steps in eternal dust, is the most honest summary of this entire story. We are fragile. The universe is not. Artemis 4 is already being planned. The target this time is the lunar South Pole. Craters so ancient and so deep that sunlight has not reached their floors in billions of years. Permanently shadowed regions where temperatures drop lower than the surface of Pluto. We are not just returning to the moon, we are descending into the parts of it that even the sun gave up on. We are going somewhere that has never seen light, and we are sending humans to do it. We call it exploration. We call it the next giant leap. And I do not say any of this to suggest we should stop. The people who climb into those capsules know the risks better than anyone. Their courage is real. Every second they spend out there is a genuine act of defiance against everything the universe is. But here is what I keep coming back to. Space does not hate us. It is not trying to kill us. It simply has no category for us at all. We do not register. Our launches, our missions, our names, our fears, our hopes, none of it creates so much as a ripple in the fabric of what is out there. We are the universe briefly becoming aware of itself, looking around in confusion and wonder, and calling that looking courage. And the most haunting truth of all, we will keep going, further and further into that dark, driven by something we cannot name and cannot stop. And one day, far out in that silence, something will go wrong in a way we did not predict. And the universe will not pause. It will not mourn. The stars will not dim. The void will simply close around that small human light, the way deep water closes over a stone. Without a sound, without a ripple, without a single moment of recognition that something irreplaceable was just lost forever. And that is what makes us extraordinary. And that is what makes this terrifying. We go anyway.